I'm Dexter, a young actuary, and this is my entry for the Young Actuaries World Cup, which I'm submitting in 2025. 2025 is a cool number. It's a square number, which is cool. It's also the sum of the cubes of the numbers 1 to 9, which is super cool. But the main thing I wanted to share about the year 2025 is that it's halfway between the year 2000 and the year 2050, and let me tell you why that's interesting to me. Let's start with 2050, and to do that, let's go back to 2015. Recognizing the severe risk posed by rising global temperatures, the 2015 Paris Agreement set a goal to limit warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius, ideally below 1.5 degrees. By modelling the link between emissions and temperature rises, we can backsolve to find that achieving this goal requires global net zero emissions by around 2050. As a result, many countries have adopted 2050 net zero targets, making 2050 a critical milestone in climate policy. So what about 2000? Well, for most of this year, I was 6. And that's interesting to me now, as that's my daughter's age today. And because 2025 is halfway between 2000 and 2050, in 2050, she'll be my age. And my son, well, he'll be even younger. And like me today, I'm sure they'll feel like they have much of their lives still ahead of them. But for them, we could already be too far down a bad pathway. Tipping points could have been breached, the world could be warming exponentially, leading to an insecure food supply, mass involuntary immigration, war, and of course damage to the economy. I don't want this future for my kids, so that's why for my submission I wanted to answer, how can actuaries help limit climate change? To answer this, like all good mathematicians, let's start with a definition, the definition of an actuary, and it's hard to define. If I'm honest, that's why when I meet people for the first time, I don't usually tell them I'm an actuary. So to answer what is an actuary, let's go back to basics. Traditionally, there were 3 main classes of actuary: pensions, life insurance, and general insurance. Over time, the diversity of actuaries has increased, not just in terms of diversity of race, sex, age, and personality type, but also diversity in the range of work we're involved in. Chartered enterprise risk actuaries specialize in managing risk holistically. Many actuaries work in data science, investments, reinsurance, health, and many more areas. And this diversity makes it hard to define what an actuary is. So what links us all together? Well, I've come up with a definition that I feel describes what actuaries do. An actuary is a person, ChatGPT, a person that understands complex mathematical systems and can explain them in a way that helps others make better decisions. And with this definition, I think it's obvious that actuaries are fantastic people to help limit climate change. But what can we actually do? Well, before I discuss my innovations, let's look at how actuaries are already thinking about climate change. They add climate risk to risk registers, they provide climate scenario analysis, actuaries help with TCFD reports, they consider the impact on life expectancies. There's product innovation in general insurance sectors, for example offering lower premiums for energy efficient homes, and investment actuaries are advising on responsible investment. I believe all these things are helpful and encourage you to engage if you're not already. The way our planet works is a complex system, and actuaries can help explain it. There's plenty of jargon thrown around when we talk about climate change, like net zero and tipping points that I mentioned earlier. Actuaries can understand these and then use our communication skills to explain them clearly. For example, explain that net zero usually refers to when the amount of carbon dioxide released into the atmosphere by humans is the same as the amount removed by humans. We can explain that tipping points are thresholds that once breached cannot be easily reversed, often leading to further warming. We can give examples of how melting ice sheets reduce the amount of ice reflecting sunlight away from the Earth, meaning the Earth warms more. Explaining these things clearly can help people make better informed decisions, and I think it should be taken further. My innovation is that we should have climate actuaries that advise governments and large companies. Their role should be to understand the complex systems of our planet, the interaction of CO2 and warming, the amount of natural resources the Earth has left, the level of physical and transitional risks our financial systems are exposed to. Then explain these to policymakers, and together come up with solutions to the systemic risks we face. Instead of using our skills to become experts in pensions legislation from the 1990s, we could become experts on climate policy today. Instead of modelling financial solvency, we could model planetary solvency. Actuaries can be a voice of logic and reason in a world of distrust and misinformation. 2050 will be here before we know it. We're not just talking about our children and our children's children, we're talking about my children when they are my age. The actions we take over the next 25 years will be here for all to see. Actuaries can help shape the future, either by incorporating thinking about climate change in our traditional roles, or by diversifying further and creating a more innovative climate actuary. Thank you.